Hello.
Who are you and why am I here?
Oh, I forgot my introductions. My name is Jasper, and I'm doing a project about the major events that took place in the 70s. So my project involves conducting interviews with people who are alive in this decade. But I didn't want to interview people who lived in retirement homes. Then I thought, why not summon people from the 70s to tell me about the decade's major events? So I built this handy-dandy remote to summon people like you, Nixon, for this interview.
I see. Then why is there a camera behind me?
Oh, that? Well, it's just to record this interview.
Right. Well, let's begin this interview then.
Excellent. So, former President Nixon, what were some of the major events that took place during your tenure in office?
A lot happened during my presidency. Some may say that I pretty much defined the 70s.
That's debatable.
No, it's not. Anyways, in 1971, I declared the war on drugs, which obviously worked, no doubt about that. Then in 1972, I became the first US president to set foot in communist China. Oh, it was on that trip where I met Mao Zedong, albeit it was a quick meeting. What else? Oh yeah, there was the 1972 presidential election. And let me just say, I won in a 49-state landslide. I won 520 electoral votes compared to my opponent, George McGovern, who won a measly 17 electoral votes. I also won 60.7% of the popular vote. So yeah, I won in an epic fashion. Also, during my administration, Apollo 17 occurred in 1972, which was the final manned moon landing of the Apollo program.
Is there anything else you want to mention?
Nope, that will be all.
Are you sure about that? I feel like you're forgetting something.
As I said, that will be all.
What about Watergate?
No, don't mention that. Watergate destroyed my presidency.
Well, I kinda need to mention Watergate in my project.
What if I paid you $1,000 to not mention Watergate in your project?
No, can do, Nixon. You have to talk about Watergate.
No.
You must.
No.
You must.
No.
You must.
No.
2 hours later.
You must.
No.
You must.
No.
You must.
No.
So help me, Nixon. If you don't mention Watergate, then I'm going to go back in time and undo your presidential pardon of Watergate.
Fine. I'll mention Watergate. On June 17, 1972, members of my re-election campaign broke into the Watergate complex, which was the DNC's headquarters. My administration and I tried to cover up evidence of this break-in, but we were eventually caught, and the House of Representatives approved articles of impeachment against me in 1974. So, in order not to be impeached, and probably convicted in the Senate as well, I resigned the office of the presidency on August 9, 1974. And Vice President Ford was sworn in as the 38th president on that same day. Later on September 8, 1974, President Ford issued a presidential pardon for any crimes that I may have committed during the Watergate scandal. So, that was great, though my entire presidency has been defined by Watergate to this very day, and I'm listed as one of the worst presidents in our nation's history. What a shame.
Well, thank you, Nixon, for this interview. You have given me oodles of information to use in my project. Now I'm going to return you back to your original timeline.
You're welcome.
So, former President Carter, tell me about some of the major events that occurred during your first couple of years in office.
You bet I will. So, where do I start? Oh yeah, first I'll begin in 1976. In that year's presidential election, I defeated Gerald Ford, who was the incumbent president at that time. Yeah, that was a great moment for me. Then on January 20th, 1977, I was sworn in as the 39th President of the United States. On my second day as President, I issued Proclamation 4483, which was a presidential pardon to all Vietnam War draft evaders. The rest of my presidency didn't go all that well though. There was the 1979 oil crisis, which saw oil prices shoot up in price due to the Iranian Revolution. Also, in 1979, Iranian militants seized the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, Iran. These militants held the American captives as hostages. This eventually turned into the Iranian hostage crisis. So yeah, those were not fun times to be president.
Thank you, former President Carter, for this interview. It was quite interesting hearing from you.
Do you want to hear about the time I saw a UFO?
No. Well, Mr. Jobs, you were obviously a successful businessman.
Indeed I am.
Can you tell me about the first couple of years of Apple Computers?
Alright then. Apple Computers was founded on April 1st, 1976. And Apple's founders were obviously me, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne, though we don't talk much about him. And yet, the company was started in my parents' house. And it was there where the first Apple product was created, which was a circuit board called the Apple I. The Apple I sold relatively well for what it was. Then later in 1977, the Apple II was released, and it was a major success for the company. The Apple II included a keyboard, a case for the circuit board, and it had colored graphics. The Apple II was also the catalyst for the popularization of home computers, which was a big deal at the time.
Are there other things that happened in the tech industry during the 70s?
Yes, actually. Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded Microsoft on April 4, 1975. Microsoft was founded as a computer software company, though I don't know what they did during the 70s. And yet, that's all I can think of about the tech industry during the 70s.
Interesting stuff. Thanks for this interview, Mr. Jobs. It was a pleasure hearing from you.
No problem. Also, remember to buy Apple products.
Absolutely not.
12 o'clock midnight.
Well, time to see what I've just recorded. Dang it! I forgot to hit record.